Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Calvin Tobin Show. I am your host, Calvin Tobin. Today we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. Alright, a few NFL teams have experienced some unfortunate news this week, and for starters, Arizona Cardinals wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins is out for the rest of the regular season due to a sprained knee. Now, come playoff time, because he's expected to return around postseason time. Hopefully it's week 1, because we don't know how the season is going to end and play out for the rest of the season, and we don't know who's going to have that number 1 seed. And it would be, based on this position, it would be best if Arizona can win out, and they have a very good chance to do it, so they can get that bye week as a number 1 seed, and they have themselves a bit of breathing room to let DeAndre Hopkins come back and work on himself even more to get himself right for his first playoff appearance. Now, with Arizona having Hopkins out, they do not need to worry as much as they're trying to worry, because they have plenty of talent to go to be able to replace DeAndre Hopkins enough to help them maybe lock up the number 1 seed depending on how the season ends. They got James Conner, who can become more versatile. They have Rondell Moore, who can become more of an all-star and prove himself even more. They got Christian Kirk, who's been a great receiver and a slot receiver all year long. And they have their number 2 wide receiver in AJ Green, who has the chance to prove himself even more. Even though we already know that he's been a great receiver all throughout his career, now he can prove himself even more on the big stage, because now he is with a good team and he can show how truly good he is. Now, for the other team that experienced unfortunate news was the Cleveland Browns, as their quarterback Baker Mayfield has tested positive for COVID-19 as of yesterday. Now, he is going to be out this week versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, Baker Mayfield finally has time to rest and get his muscles and bones in check, because he's been playing with injuries, especially his shoulder, all year long, and that might have something to do with Baker Mayfield's playing ability this year, but Baker Mayfield hasn't taken that leap yet, or shown us that leap that he is a true superstar or even an all-star quarterback. Now, whoever is going to be Cleveland's backup is going to have to play out of his mind, because he is playing the Raiders, and the Browns are an iffy team. They're just above 500, and other than last year to this year, we really can't tell if the Browns are a good playoff team or a not a playoff team at all, because Baker Mayfield is very, very average and is yet to show he can be lethal, even though he has had high-scoring games like left and right. He's had quite a few of them. He whooped the Steelers by throwing up 48 on them in his first playoff experience. He's thrown up 40 points a couple of times in his career, 1 versus the Chargers and 1 versus the Ravens, and they somehow happened to be the exact same score of 47 to 42 or 47-41, whatever the score was. And even though that Baker Mayfield has had those kind of games, that he's just like Lamar Jackson. He's just up and down with when he comes out and plays like a true superstar. They're not consistent in greatness with the passing game. And maybe that might change after Baker Mayfield rests up after testing positive for COVID-19, getting his body right, and we are going to see in a couple of weeks how much better Baker Mayfield is going to look once he has this rest, even though he's playing and looks like he doesn't even need it. All right, in college football, there are now players entering the transfer portal, and a few of them have already committed to new teams. For one, freshman who came right out of high school, didn't even finish his senior year, Quinn Ewers, who was a quarterback for Ohio State, has now committed to the University of Texas. Quinn Ewers has to fight for the starting job as a sophomore at the University of Texas, and maybe he might get his shot because coming right out of your senior year and skipping it, that says a lot about how great that Quinn Ewers' potential is, and now he has a chance to finally prove himself at the starting position at Texas. The other one is former quarterback for Oklahoma, Spencer Rattler, has committed to South Carolina, and the SEC just got a whole lot more interesting because of Spencer Rattler joining South Carolina. South Carolina looked like a solid, just above 500 team, and now they have Spencer Rattler as their quarterback. There's a good chance that Spencer Rattler can be that guy, and maybe, just maybe, depending on how well he can play with his new team under a new system, if he can actually maybe put South Carolina into the conversation of being a top 25 team, because leaning towards the end of this year, South Carolina was looking better and better and better, and now they just got Spencer Rattler, who got replaced by freshman Caleb Williams. The SEC is a whole new ball game now. Now, another player that is in the transfer portal right now and is yet to find his new team is former USC quarterback Kedon Slovis. Now, I think a great start would be at the University of Florida, because Emory Jones and Anthony Richardson, they have shown, Emory Jones is a sophomore and Anthony Richardson is a freshman, and Anthony Richardson looked wild in some of the the games that he played in throughout the year, and he looks completely electric and can be for the Gators, but I think that Florida would be a good spot for Kedon Slovis. Because Florida doesn't have a quarterback, and Emory Jones and Anthony Richardson are definitely not the guys looking like they can get the ball down the field with their arm other than their feet. They can definitely get utilized for like wildcat plays and a whole bunch of running plays too, because they have electric feet and can make a guy or two miss. But Florida needs a guy that can throw. And after this year, how bad Florida looked, it's looking like that Florida is on the downfall for a little bit. But maybe their new head coach, Bill Napier, Napler, can get them back into the talks of being a great team like they used to be and have been since the 90s. Alright, and I'm pretty sure all you guys have been waiting for this. Curry finally broke the record, and I was right. I said it was either going to be in the Indiana game or the New York Knicks game, and he got it in the first quarter of the New York Knicks game. And even though it would have been great for getting the record at home in your own home stadium, nothing's better than that. But where Curry got his record, the New York Knicks Stadium, Madison Square Garden, somehow it could not have been more perfect, because Madison Square Garden is the freaking arena, stadium, whatever you want to call it, for records to be broken on any level in this world. And Curry could have not done it at a more perfect time for getting 2,974th three, but shooting with a guy in his face, and it was a beautiful swish, and now he finally has the record. Now, speaking of records, now since he has it, Curry, when his career is all said and done, there's a very good chance at the pace he's shooting, for him changing the game and the amount of threes that he is making. Let's just say, because he's in his 13th season now, could have broken the record last year, but had a torn ACL. But in his 13th season, I say that Curry might play between 18 and 20 seasons, maybe longer, who knows. But Curry is definitely, in my opinion, and I've said this before, that Curry is going to throw that three-point record so far out there, it actually is going to be a record that will never, ever be touched. And in my opinion, I do say he's either going to get just over or just under 4,000 threes when his career is all said and done. And that just sounds like 4,000 threes. Like, think about that. Like, that sounds like such an insane freaking record. It actually sounds untouched, and it probably will be in a lot of people's lifetimes. Like, and here's my standards of unbreakable records based on whatever it is. And this is just my opinion based on it. If a record lasts up to between 45 to 50 years and it's still not broken, or even people have not even come close to it, that shows that it will never be broken. Like Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak. He got that record in the 40s and it still hasn't been broken. Will Chamberlain got 100 points in a game in 1962. Still hasn't been broken. He also has the most rebounds of all time at 23,000, and we all know that's not going to be broken. And here's the thing, since we're talking about records, I thought I'd give my list of most unbreakable records, and I got like 6 or 7 that are actually records that might never be broken. And for starters is, number 1 is 2,857 NHL points by Wayne Gretzky. Here's how insane this record is. He got that amount of points in a 20-year career in the NHL. And here's how crazy his record is. He has more assists with 1,963 assists. He has more assists than the second place guy has points with 1,921, who is Jaromir Jagr, and Gretzky has 2,857 points. I do not care how good of a player you can be. Maybe Connor McDavid can get close, maybe by hitting the 2,000-yard mark if he never gets injured and can keep up the pace like he has, like he did of getting 105 points in 56 games. Because Connor McDavid is looked at as a generational talent. He might get over 2,000 points, just maybe, if he plays the same length as Wayne Gretzky is, but that record will never be touched. Another one is Barry Sanders' 1988 football season. Now, let me dumb this down for you. He had 2,628 rushing yards and 37 touchdowns in 11 games. Melvin Gordon did come close with 2,587, but technically, Barry Sanders actually had 2,850 yards and 42 touchdowns in 1988. They're just not counting the bowl games, and they didn't count bowl games back then like they do today. But out of the 2,850 yards or 42 rushing touchdowns, the record that I'm talking about is 42, or technically 37 rushing touchdowns in one season. Barry Sanders was averaging like 3.5, 4 touchdowns a game as a freaking running back. A running back. That is definitely another one that will never ever be touched. And another one, and another record is Cal Ripken's Ironman record of 2,632 straight games played. Like, you have to, and this was in baseball, Cal Ripken Jr. had 2,632 straight games played. No injury, no nothing, and just kept on playing for 17. And it was a 17-year span over a 21-year Hall of Fame career. And the original record was 2,131 held by Lou Gehrig, and Cal Ripken annihilated that. The only way someone is going to break this record is you have to play at a minimum of 18 years in MLB without missing one game. You can't miss a single game in your entire MLB career. It has to last at least 18 years if you want to break that record. Now, another one is Ricky. Now I'm going to go straight off baseball now, and these next two, still unfreaking beatable, unbreakable because of how insane this is. One is Ricky Henderson's steal record, even in one season or even his entire career, because he had 130 steals in 1989, and still no one's come close to that, not even remotely close. There have been players that got 50, 60, and I think there might have been one or two players that may have actually achieved 70 steals in a season, but still, Ricky Henderson had 130, practically doubled that stuff. That's never been broken. Now, for his career, he's 500 steals ahead of second place with 1,406 steals, and has a 92% rate, successful rate of stealing that base. And I'm pretty sure some people can vouch for this, but it's really hard to dumb it down on who is the fastest player in MLB history. Ricky Henderson is definitely top 3, maybe top 2. In my opinion, I do think that because of those steals, the way he was able to steal bases off pitchers, off people just throwing the ball at one base, and he's able to steal a second base with ease. And he was ridiculously fast. It was unreal how fast this dude was. And Ricky Henderson had 1,406 steals out of 1,721 attempts to do so. That's like a 90+%, 92, 93 successful rate of stealing a base. Absolutely insane. The next one is Pete Rose for having the most hits of all time, which is 4,256. 4,200 hits. It's a golden accomplishment if you hit 3,000 hits, and he got that, and Pete Rose beat that by 1,200 hits. The closest guy that ever got it, even though Pete Rose played after this guy, was Ty Cobb, and he had 4,156 hits, but he played in a much easier era, and he hit over 400 as a batting average. Unfreaking real. And Pete Rose played over 20 years, and you would have to have above a 340 on average, a 340 batting average for 18 to 20 years, maybe even 20 plus if you want to break that record. And you have to do it year in and year out. And at points you might have to get between 200 to 300 hits in one single season, which quite a few players have done. Not 300 or just a little bit over, but multiple players have gotten close to 300. That's what you have to do. And now, my final record of what I think is unbreakable is LaDainian Tomlinson's 31 touchdowns in 2006. He's averaging 2 touchdowns, nearly 2 touchdowns at the time of 16 games. Now it's 17. Nearly 2 touchdowns a game. He was one short of averaging 2, so it's about 1.97 or whatever. 31 touchdowns in a game. He had multiple games of 3 touchdowns. He had, I think, 1 or 2 games that year of having 4 touchdowns in one game, and he did this all year long. 31 touchdowns. Man, I get maybe some people can get close, maybe have like 24, 25, 26, 27 maybe along that line if a running back has a ridiculous, or even a wide receiver has like a completely unbelievable season, but no one's touching that record. And the only person that can get kind of close to it right now is Jonathan Taylor. He has 18 touchdowns right now and has 4 games left to play. 18 touchdowns out of 13 games. He's nearly averaging just over half a touchdown a game. I completely wrong with that. But Jonathan Taylor is the closest guy to that, and who knows on how much he's going to end up with. Could be 23, 24, maybe even 25, depending on on how he does against the field the rest of the season, because he's got to play the Patriots, the Jaguars, the Raiders, and the Cardinals. Not in that exact order, obviously, but those are the 4 games he has left, or 4 teams he has left to play. What can he do, and how many touchdowns can he get against those 4 teams, and how much he's going to end up with? Because he's definitely going to have more than 21. And why 21? Todd Gurley in 2016, 2017 had 21 touchdowns, and that was just a crazy season. And Jonathan Taylor is definitely going to get more than that based on the pace he's going at right now. Alright, that's the end of the Calvin Tobin Show. Please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any sports media. And please follow me on Instagram at Calvin Tobin Show so you don't miss out on any sports news whatsoever.